My initial response to hearing the news that VAT was going to be put on was that I knew the school had no capacity to absorb it. This is a small school who everyone makes sacrifices for. The head teacher is sacrificial, every teacher, the caretaker, all the parents make a sacrifice to be at this school. This isn't a well-off, endowed school. So I knew that that fee would have to be passed on to the parents. Education should not be taxed. Education is important. Education is a parent's responsibility. And I don't think parents who choose to educate their children in a private context should be taxed for doing so. We send our children to Bradford Christian School, which is a fee-paying, independent Christian school. We send them there for a number of reasons. We want an actively Christian education, and the school are doing wonderful work with lots of children, some of them very disadvantaged, some of them have come from awful situations and backgrounds, and the school, I've employed quite a few of the people who've left the school. They churn out great kids, well-rounded, confident, hard-working, upstanding children. And so we chose to send them to this small, lovely Christian school, which is a large financial commitment. So we basically bought the most rundown house in one of the poorest areas in Bradford so that with the help of our parents, we could pay the school fees. It's always been a struggle to make ends meet and to keep that commitment, which we've done everything we can to do so up to now. But with the introduction of the VAT on school fees and the removal of the business rates that the government have currently proposed, it's just not going to be affordable for us to carry on.
Yes, I've been to this school for all my life except for a short time when I was homeschooled, but overall we decided the Christian school was much better.
What's the atmosphere like amongst you and your friends? Do you ever talk about whether you'll have to leave school or whether the VAT?
Yeah, I mean the whole place has been a bit quieter since my friend left. In terms of what I think the government should be doing is just leave me alone. And I don't think I am doing anything wrong by going to a private school. But yeah, sometimes it does feel like that. Like, why am I being made to leave? Because I much prefer to stay. I
think there's a large distinction to be made between a state-funded school that has Christian in the name and an independent school that has Christian in the name. I went to a Church of England primary school and I had many wonderful teachers, but there were still things taught there that were contrary to the Christian faith that my parents taught me at home. And so as a Christian father, I am to protect my children from influences that are contrary to Christianity. The stuff about sexuality is a real issue. The pushing of general promiscuity and fornication. In my secondary school many years ago, we were taught things which are completely antithetical to the Christian gospel. The Bible is very clear that there's only one place for sexual relations, and that's between one man and one woman in covenanted marriage. That's the only place. And we were told it's okay to have sex with people as long as it's consensual and safe. And I think we see the fruits of that kind of thinking in our society. And rather than backing away from it, the government is pushing harder and harder with more sex education, younger ages being sexualised. I think it's morally repugnant. Joining the legal action was an unusual step for me. I felt there was a higher purpose here. It's not just myself that I'm arguing for. I'm trying to argue for every family that either is or might be at some point in the future in a position like ours where they choose to send their children to a private school rather than a state-funded. So we thought it was right that we stepped up, because I believe there's a moral element to this. I think it's morally wrong for the government to be taxing education. I don't think if I'd gone to a state school, I mean I can't say for certain, but I definitely wouldn't be as confident in my Christian faith as I am today. And just the same as my Christian parents and the whole atmosphere that I've been raised up in. Because I was baptised a few months ago. I know I'm a Christian and stuff.
I'm glad about that, and I'm grateful to my parents for sending me to the Christian school.
I don't know what the future holds. God does, and that gives me great comfort. I know that God is able to overturn this VAT decision. That would be a small thing for him. He's very capable of doing that, but I don't know whether he will. Our hope and our prayer is that he will overturn it, and that would be a victory for justice, because I think it's a moral issue. But if God doesn't, by his grace, then we will be home educating our children shortly, because we won't be able to afford to do anything else. But that's not the decision we would want to make, but we have to make those preparations now, which is hard take a big toll on my wife, on the children. But we are still praying that God will overturn this decision, and we want other Christians to pray with us in that aim. But we also want other people who maybe don't share our faith to at least understand where we're coming from and why we're doing it, and to support us for the sake of the children, and I actually think for the sake of the country. This country will be worse off if these schools close down.